welcome to Classical Chat.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to do an in-person episode. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Katie Sansone. I am the Executive Director of Musical Mentors Collaborative. We are a nationally based nonprofit that addresses inequity in music education by offering free instruments and one-on-one music lessons. We match under-resourced communities with musical mentors to create powerful experiences through meaningful relationships.
That's really wonderful. And so I'm excited to talk to you about how you got to this. And so tell me, this is the first question I ask every single guest, as you have been prepped. How did you get into classical music? What was your first experience?
I had to think about that question a lot, actually, because I don't really remember a first pivotal type moment in my life where I feel like classical music and music across the board has always been part of my life. My parents are not musicians.
They're not.
Yeah, they're music lovers, appreciators of the arts, and I think they wanted to introduce that to me in a meaningful way. But what I clearly do remember is my dad had these, I'm old enough to, we had cassette tapes.
Oh, I remember cassette tapes. I have dreams of this one time where, I used to be in the dance. This is slightly talking about myself, but I do remember cassette tapes. I would have the boombox, and I was so proud to be the one in charge of putting the cassette tape inside. I love those days. Anyway, cassette tapes.
My story is very similar because my dad had this set of cassette tapes on classical music, and each cassette tape was a different composer. Some composers had more than one cassette tape, and it was multiple pieces of music by these composers and then a speaker who taught you a little bit about the composer themselves. And I would sit by our little boombox on the table, and I would put in the cassette tapes, and I would sit and listen to those for hours on end.
Oh, wow.
And I remember growing up, my dad he had a convertible at one point, and we would ride around in his convertible with the top down, blasting Beethoven.
Wow.
And we would conduct and sing along. And
it's like a scene from a movie.
It really didn't cross my mind that people probably looked at us oddly, but I absolutely loved those moments. And for me, music has always been about community. It's about a space of belonging, and I can't really think about my life anymore without it.
That's beautiful. How did you decide to sing?
I was lucky to have a number of people who supported me before I started taking private lessons, encouraging me to sing in the church choir, encouraging me to do talent shows and different performance opportunities within my elementary and middle school. I started studying with a private voice teacher in high school, and went to a performing arts high school and was what they call vocal major in New Jersey. And 4 years there of 3+ periods a week. This is back when we had 7 periods a day, and it was real normal. Not all these crazy block schedules and changing green and blue days. But most of my day was music, and I loved every minute of it. And my voice teacher was, I would say, my first musical mentor, someone who really took me under her wing and gave me so much confidence and guidance in my own musicianship and talent. And she helped me audition for multiple music schools. I went to New England Conservatory for undergrad and studied voice performance there. And again, it's always been my space where I feel like I'm a part of a community that I belong to.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And that's very much in the spirit of unity of classical, the sense of community and how music can really connect so many people from all over the world. But I gotta ask, so there was a phase in my life when I was like 5, 6, 7, when I did go to choir, children's choir, and my parents tell this story over and over again, how I would compete with the kids behind me to sing the loudest. And whenever somebody was louder than me, I would stand up and be like,
Oh, you're a true performer.
Yeah, well, I don't know, or just competitive. But at some point I was like, singing's not for me. Mm-hmm. But how did you get into singing? Because a lot of people that I've talked to, they would say, oh yeah, I used to take piano lessons. Like that was my first do. But then they decide to maybe go into a different instrument. But you went straight to singing. Do you remember like what pulled you into singing? Did you go to opera all the time? Or?
I did, yeah. So I actually got to see, went to the Met yesterday and saw Dead Man Walking.
I saw the evening one. I was there for the matinee.
Oh, no, I was there for the matinee. That was the last performance.
Oh, the Dead Man Walking.
Yeah.
I was there too.
Oh, it was incredible.
I had terrible dreams.
Yeah, well, yes, the end.
I had really terrible time falling asleep.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I did. I loved the performance, and this all ties in because growing up, I did love opera. I liked any art form that told a story, and I would say when I was younger, I didn't understand that orchestral music can also tell a story. So I really leaned into musical theater. I felt like choral could tell a story anytime there was a libretto or lyrics where words were helping move the arc forward. And so I loved opera. I thought it was so cool and grand and big and exciting. And my dad used to take me to the Met with his colleagues. And I think it was because he felt pretty proud that he had a middle school kid who liked the opera and wanted to go sit for 3 hours. So I have wonderful memories of going to Metropolitan Opera with my father and seeing these incredible performances. I don't know. I don't have a great answer for that. It's just something I always felt drawn to. It was something.
But that's great though. It makes it even more organic.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody, said today you're going to be a singer, It's more just kind of a natural. It's like for me, I don't think I remember a time when I decided that I wanted to be a pianist. Mm-hmm. I think I just always liked to move my fingers.
Yeah.
And it's fun to have sounds as a result of moving my fingers. Yeah. And so I think just somehow I moved all the way to New York and yeah. But how did you then decide to pursue the career that you're in? Because, walk us through. So you decide to go into vocal performance, but also pedagogy, right? Yeah,
so I did my undergraduate degree in vocal performance at NEC, studied with an incredible teacher who was yet another mentor in my life. I think around my junior year of undergrad, I went home and said to my parents, actually, well, I don't think I want to be a performer. The realization of what the lifestyle meant and all the added, it's not just get up and sing because you practiced a little bit. It's so much more in depth and complicated than that. And I wasn't connecting with all of those pieces of the career track. Mm-hmm. And I went home and I said, I don't think I want to do this. And my parents said, well, that really stinks because you go to a conservatory and there's not another degree option. And so they said, figure it out. To this day, they ask if that's the worst thing they ever did as parents. And it wasn't. It was the best thing they ever did because this was before the concept of an entrepreneurial musician really existed in the way it does today. And I was required to figure it out. I went and spoke with an incredible professor at NEC, Angela Beeching, and the now Dean of Education and Community, Tanya Maggi, there. And I said, okay, I don't think I want to perform. I think I have some cool skill sets from being a musician and a performer. So what do I do? And they helped me find all of these really incredible internship opportunities. I worked in marketing and development and arts management. I worked for Handel and Haydn Society, Lincoln Center, New England Conservatory, ended up going and working for English National Opera. I got really a very wide range of experience by getting involved in these internship and smaller or short-term positions. And from there, I found a love and passion for lots of different things, and so that's kind of what guided me into. I was doing a lot of education work, education community work, and that's what guided me towards vocal pedagogy. And NEC at the time, I think it still does, had a education and community, community or concentration, music and education concentration. I think I got it. Music and education concentration. It was run by a professor named Larry Scripp, and it was a wonderful curriculum and helped it helped a lot of musicians see where their experience as a performer, where their experience as a musician can support music education in multiple ways, be that in private studio, be that as a higher education professor, be that public school education. And so during my grad school time, I really focused on wanting to teach privately, but I really loved doing community work with younger kids, and so that led me to, I ended up being a public school music educator for 5 years. That is where I learned the most about myself, about human interactions and what music really can mean for a young person as they grow up. And from there, I went and worked at the Aspen Music Festival for 10 years, which was an absolute honor. And I've done a lot of advocacy work for youth, and that's what led me kind of full circle to this job that I'm in now.
That's great. And that's also, I think, you have a lot to, I think, inspire people who, I think, a lot of times I talk to students who are thinking of going to music, but they don't really know if they want to be a performer. Mm-hmm. I myself, I guess, I can be louder, performer since I was a kid, but I always struggle to, tell them, what to do if they don't want to be a performer. What are some things that you think you would have liked to know back then when you were making this decision of, okay, I spent all this time pursuing something that should be, what a performer would be doing, and then, coming to terms with the fact that that's not your strong suit?
Yeah.
How, or what would have been useful for you to know, and also for people who are potentially at this crossroads, thinking about what to do with a music degree? What would you tell those people or your younger self in that moment?
When I was in school, and I think there's a shift now, but I think it still exists there. You went to music school with the assumption, I'll use orchestral musicians as an example, you will go to undergrad, you will study for 4 years, you will play in orchestra, you will play in chamber music, you will take your private lessons. You will possibly go off to grad school immediately after, do 2 more years of kind of the same thing at a higher level. You'll graduate and you will get a position in an orchestra. A few years later, you'll get a principal position in that orchestra and your life is set. And if you don't do that, you're not successful. And I want so many people to know that success is not wrapped around that one and only trajectory.
Yeah.
I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that right away. I think I learned that earlier because of my experience and how my parents reacted to my awareness. Mm-hmm. And I think everything we do in life is an opportunity to learn how we learn and to learn how to be professionals. And it's not, I didn't go to school just to learn how to be an opera singer. I went to learn how to be a musician. I went to learn how to be a member of a musical community. And I went to learn how to move an art form forward. And I can do that through many different avenues. And today, I think schools are so much better at talking about being an entrepreneurial musician. I recently spoke to a number of students at CU Boulder, and as I started speaking, I had this analogy of you get to create your own puzzle, and you get to put together your own puzzle, and you get to create your puzzle pieces. So I think about those puzzle piece stamps, which are so cool. But, you can say, I want half of my puzzle to be one big piece of performing, and then I want 4 other pieces over here that I run a podcast, and I teach a small studio, and I work at Starbucks because they have good benefits. And you can piece it all together, and the reality that success is what you create, and it's not what anybody else assumes for you. So I think it's the great honor as a young musician that we now get to say this is what my career looks like. It's also the great struggle, and it can be really hard to figure that out. And the reality is, as a musician, there's so many skill sets you're learning, a lifetime of learning, that can transfer to so many different jobs. I was saying one day, I don't think I've ever, when I worked at the Aspen Music Festival, I hired a lot of summer staff. And I don't think I ever hired a musician who was very involved in chamber music who wasn't great at communicating with others. They were always very empathetic and aware of people around them. They were always really good at communicating and ensuring that whoever they were talking to was understanding what they were trying to say. They were often very patient people. Someone who's really serious about orchestral music very rarely showed up late to a meeting. They understood the importance of, the downbeat is the downbeat, and I have to be in my seat and ready to go before that. That's my responsibility as a member of this ensemble. And so that most often transferred to an administrative role. Never hired a singer who couldn't talk to just about anybody with a gorgeous smile on their face at a customer service window. Singers are really good at presenting themselves well, and there's a lot of singers that go into development because it's kind of performative. And so these are all skills that we learn on a day-to-day basis that help us be professionals. Those are the things that a lot of people in a regular classroom setting, business majors, MBAs, that's a missing piece. Then that's something that's really hard to teach. It's something that grows out of your experience through your musicianship.
Totally.
So I think we get to take all those pieces and realize that we actually are very well-rounded human beings that can offer a lot, either within this art form or outside of it.
That was, wow, a lot of different insights and advices. Yeah, I mean, it's we're currently at Columbia University, and that's my alma mater. And I think of the times when I was here. This is the first time I've returned since, I think, my graduation, if I remember.
Oh, wow.
So, really nostalgic day for me. And I did the Columbia Juilliard Exchange, so I would travel back and forth, and I just have flashbacks of those times. And I was very much kind of following my own thing. I know I go to here for philosophy degree. I want to expand my knowledge. Fixed. Juilliard, music, education, or practicing and honing my crafts in musicianship. And when you were saying, choosing your own puzzle pieces, and really, I think that's such an exciting thing to be able to create your own path. And you mentioned the term entrepreneurial musician, which is interesting. And I'm curious from your experience, through working kind of behind the scenes, but kind of more of a holistic view of the classical music making, I would say, if that's correct, right? Because you have, from the student days to then also with the education part of things, and then Aspen Festival. And so you kind of have been from different perspectives into what the audiences experience, I guess, from the concert halls. What would you say is the current trend of entrepreneur musician? Would you call yourself a musician today? I don't know. Do you still sing and give concerts? Do you perform, or would you consider yourself a musician? And what is an entrepreneur musician? And did this term start in the recent couple of years that you've noticed, or?
That's a good question. I do consider myself still a musician. I perform some, not a lot. I'm a mom of 2 young kids, and so it's often hard to find time to practice.
I don't know how you juggle all of that, but all power to you.
I also run a children's chorus, which is a great joy of mine, and get to make music with young kids. So that's wonderful. Entrepreneurial musician, I think it's an overused term, to be honest.
I've never heard of this term until today.
Oh, okay. So
I live in my little bubble, so please tell me, when did this term come about? Because this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, because for a couple of years, I have been very obsessed with Robert Schumann. And I look at those times when, he was not only a composer, also a pianist before he injured himself, but he was also a music critic. He was, gathering musicians together to write articles and had this whole League of David society. And, look at members of that society, like Mendelssohn, who was, a conductor, a festival organizer, composer, musician, so many things. And then I kind of noticed over the years, things became much more specialized. I think just potentially as a general thing at society, you go to doctor, it's like the head doctor, the beat doctor, the heart doctor, kind of thing. And so I am actually very curious and intrigued that there's this now term called entrepreneur musician. I don't remember hearing those actually when I was in school, so I'm curious.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more and more a topic of conversation, especially within higher education, music, schools, conservatories. Because the reality is a school should prepare their students for what a career might look like. And like we were saying earlier, it's not a guarantee that every student who is in music school will graduate and get into a major orchestra or play in a professional chamber ensemble that allows them to pay the bills full time, or sing for a house in Germany and get a full-time gig. Those are less common than not. And there's some statistics out there that say this is how many orchestra spots there are, and this is how many students are in university for orchestral instruments, and the math doesn't add up, right? So more common people they have a day job and they play in 2 ensembles, or they play in a chamber music group, and then they also sub for 2 different orchestras, and they have a solo gig, and they teach them lessons, right? And so what schools have been grappling with, I think, is, well, how do we create a curriculum and a course of study over the course of 4 years or 2 years that appropriately prepares these students for what their future will look like. And what has come out of that in some spaces is this concept of an entrepreneurial musician. And again, I think it's a very vague term, right? What does that
What
mean?
does that mean?
An entrepreneur is someone who creates something maybe out of nothing. Don't quote me on that. I don't know what the actual term is. We should Google it right now. But I think the concept is, how do we give young musicians as many skill sets as possible to be successful in many different avenues? How do we give them skill sets on how to write a resume if they need to? Lots of musicians know how to make a resume, or can easily find support in how to make a resume for instrumental audition, or a competition, or a music festival. But how to write a resume to get a job at a law firm as a paralegal, that's a whole different world that you don't learn about in music school. And why would you know? And then all of a sudden you might have to do it because you have to put your puzzle pieces together. And so I think that's where it comes from. I think about it through the lens of musical mentors a little bit, in that we are an organization that allows students to self-organize. We are an organization that allows students at universities to create community, and then it offers them an opportunity for professional development. Our university chapter program, we put together clubs, chapters at schools, and then they recruit their colleagues and friends at the university to volunteer their time to give lessons to local students who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity. And that in itself is entrepreneurial for the university students, that they can find different ways to create their own professional development. They can create ways to self-organize. They can create ways to have admin experience. You can serve on an executive board for the chapter. You can serve as the board president, sometimes the founder. There's all these great opportunities to kind of create create your own adventure a little bit with your college experience through MMC. And I think that in itself is entrepreneurial.
That's interesting. And I think the fact that there's a label now for, being, I would always think of that as, being very active and innovative. And so that's really great that now there's this proper term, I guess, for it's the kind of active musician. And sorry, I got lost in trying to follow your train of thought. I had a question, and this is totally edited, so this is fine. Entrepreneurial musician. Oh, you said it's overused.
Yeah, I think it. How do I say this? I just think it. Anytime someone doesn't know how they want to create a career track in music or how they want to create curriculum, they just say, well, we're just gonna teach about entrepreneurship. And I think even outside of music, we're like, well, what exactly does?
How do you teach entrepreneurship? Don't know.
I'm glad I don't teach it at college level. I think for me, my experience on how to be entrepreneurial was hands-on learning. I'm a hands-on learner. Well, I think a lot of musicians are. And it was best for me to dig in and do these internships and get hands-on experience in different parts of arts admin so I could see what I really liked, what I didn't like as much, or where my skill sets did or didn't lie. And that's how I became a professional in the arts admin world, I guess.
So for somebody that's looking into going to arts admin, what would your advice be?
Well, there's lots of variables to that, but I think if you were in a position like I was, if you were at a music school and there are not opportunities to take classes with the economics department or take a class on digital marketing, then you find lots of internship opportunities. Highly recommend summer festivals. Ask Music Festival is a pretty good one. Just saying, that's my own personal experience. Move into that hands-on learning space and try to find a mentor, someone who can support you. Go talk to your admissions office, or lots of schools now have entrepreneurship offices, so go speak to someone there. Talk to someone who teaches, music as a career, music business classes, and find out how to write a resume, where to apply, and talk to lots of people and try to create opportunities for yourself. There are also lots of programs. So there's a lot of undergrad and graduate programs. Indiana University, Carnegie Mellon, University of Charleston, there's a number of them. Florida State, I think UT Austin might have one there. There's a lot of them. And you can actually major in it for undergrad or grad and major in arts administration and pick a, what do they call it here? Concentration, right? A kind of a focused path while you're in arts admin, be it marketing or development or something within the field.
Makes me want to go back to school.
They're very interesting programs. And
I'm just curious what I would learn and what kind of networks I would be in if I had that program. It's very interesting to think. So you're an executive director of Musical and Mentors Collaborative.
Yeah.
It's not a small job.
No.
Walk me through what you do day to day.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think I do a little bit of everything. My main role is to oversee the vision of the organization and work closely with the founder and our board to move our mission forward. And fundraise. Lots of fundraising through grants, through individual donations, through corporations and sponsors, through earned revenue models and partner organizations. So I would say really 70% at least of my job is spent focused on fundraising. With this overarching, everything ties back to the mission and everything ties back to what our founder and our board really wants to see the organization succeed in. And then I spend a lot of time on program stuff, supporting my program director and our university chapters coordinator. So they get kind of into the nitty gritty, and I like that stuff. So it's hard for me to step out of it. They probably sometimes want to say, Katie, go away.
Your hands on it.
Yeah. And then just overall operations and logistics, HR. So on a day-to-day basis, I might talk to 3 donors. I might write or work on the copy for a grant. I might then work on a bunch of emails that are going out to our parents and families that we support. I might work with the program director on some ideas around how we could create a community event coming up. And then I might end my day making a Google form and sending it out to a handful of people. So it's a little bit of everything, lots of numbers and budgets, lots of interpersonal relationships over the course of the day, which I absolutely love. What I really like about the role, and I've only been in this role since February, so it's still, still consider it new, is that you really just never get bored. You don't do the same thing every day. Anytime I'm getting a little overwhelmed by one specific project, there's 20 more I can do and take a break. It's a big job, and as an organization, Musical Mentors started here at Columbia.
I know, which is why it's so fitting to do this episode here.
Yes, it's so exciting. It started, our founder was a student here, and Zach grew up around Denver, and he had a musical mentor his entire upbringing. He took piano, he's a pianist. He took piano lessons, and he felt that his teacher was a mentor to him, and knew that there are so few people that have that privilege of private one-on-one mentorship, creating that meaningful relationship and having powerful experiences. So he walked down the street to PS 145, Bloomingdale School, knocked on the door and said, hey, does anyone want to take piano lessons? I'll give them for free. And that is how this organization started.
That's great. It's very, very simple.
Yeah.
Very, just natural. Nothing super, organized, and just kind of went with what I guess his passion is. Hopefully I will get to speak to him on Coffee Chat.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, I would love to do that. What is something that you've learned being the executive director of Musical Mentors? Their MMC.
Learned so much.
Something that you did not expect.
I didn't expect. Ooh, that is a really hard one. I didn't expect I would lean into so much program work. I thought I would walk in and not want to be in that space as much because I would have so much on my plate. And that's true. I should probably follow that guidance a little bit more. But it helps me really feel passionate about the work that we're doing when I dig into the program work. So, for example, we recently partnered with young concert artists, and with them we presented Harmony Zhu, who's a young prodigy pianist. She did an opening night performance at Cycle Hall for young concert artists, but she came and spoke to all of our students beforehand. So we had about 30 to 40 of our students and family go and hear her perform. And I should have handed the organization of that whole thing to my program director. He could have done it beautifully and probably with less hiccups than I had. But there was something about, I was communicating with the families, I was communicating with the students, I was communicating with young concert artists, I was more hands-on and seeing what the impact was. And that's what I need to be able to go and talk to people about, the impact of the organization, the importance of our mission, why we do this work. And if you're completely separated from it, it's hard to speak about it really passionately.
Yeah, totally. And it's why it's also, as technically, I guess I'm the president or the executive director of TF Classical, and I find it really hard to delegate sometimes because I'm like, I want to see the impact, to interact with that, and really get involved. But then I also have other projects that I have to figure out how to time manage a little bit better and get all things done. But
it's hard to release that, not because you don't trust someone to do it or because you think you're the only one who can do it, right? It's more you want to live through those moments and really feel them, because that's why we all do this work.
Mm-hmm. So what's in the future for you at MMC, and also just with your relationship to music?
Yeah.
Are your kids into music?
Yes, my son just started in our children's chorus, and
That's cute.
and he called his first, the way our children's chorus works that I run is every school in our community runs one after school, and their music teacher teaches it. And then the co-founder and I are the co-conductors, and we bring everyone together. Anyway, side up. So he started his after-school program with his music teacher, and I was a little nervous. I didn't know if he'd really be into it, and he called us, "Mom, that was the best day ever." He had so much fun, and
That's so great, especially hear that as a mom.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah, wow, real big smiles, big smiles. Future of MMC feels really exciting. We are expanding so much of our programming. We are trying to take this infrastructure that we have created and say to multiple communities, we can help support your community and create equal access for youth and families. Bringing music to more people, hopefully helping change the demographic of the classical music. And our organization doesn't just focus on classical music, though there's a heavy interest there. But we do jazz and we do pop. And if a kid wants to learn computer music, we support them in that. Our goal is
Computer music.
if someone wants to learn how to compose music and use computer software, we can support that. And I just think there's so many opportunities to scale the work that we're doing, which in the end means impacting so many more people. So I'm super excited about the opportunities that we have and the direction that our organization is going. So I think future of MMC is bright and
exciting.
big. And I am very excited to be a part of the organization and help lead that growth.
Well, for those who are interested in learning more,
Go to our website, Musical Mentors Collaborative. We have applications. If you are interested in starting a chapter at your own university, you can reach out to us and we can talk to you about doing that. You can apply to teach at any of the universities we currently have chapters.
one of our volunteers
Yeah.
is part of Musical Mentors Collaborative at Columbia, which is why I got to know about this amazing work that you guys do. So
Keep calling.
yeah. No, I think it's great. And I love that, today in 2023, going to 2024 soon, I can't believe it. This idea of being a musician has kind of expanded.
Yeah.
And into being more interactive and much more involved with either community or just, more than just, I guess, maybe I don't know, I could be wrong, but I feel like for a long time, it's like being a musician means you play concerts, right? Mm-hmm. And I think now it's started to change and expand rather. And I think that's great because music is about connecting with people. And, there are so many ways to do that, not just through concertizing. And
Absolutely.
yeah, that's great. Any last words of advice, insights, jokes?
Just a call to action. Give back to your community.
Yeah.
Find ways that you can use what you have learned as a musician and hopefully what you are doing as a professional musician and give back to your community and help create equal access for others.
That's a great note to end on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be kind, kids driving.